Alright, I forgot to mention the dates for the first intermediate period. So it's 2180 to 2050. Okay, if you remember, the Old Kingdom, I think, was 2650 to 2180. Old Kingdom, 2650 to 2180, and this is from 2180 to 2050 BC. So this is a dark period. That's the best way to summarize it. Everything's falling apart. There's political collapse. There's civil disorder. Temples are being broken, looted. Everything's just falling apart. Now, and the pharaoh is incapable of controlling the Nile water levels because obviously pharaoh is not an engineer. He's just a king. So they didn't know how to control the levels of the Nile River, and the Nile River was absolutely essential for the progress of the Egyptian civilization. Now here's a record. Here's a book. It was called The Lamentations of Ipuwer, or Ipuwer Papyrus. Papyrus is just the paper they used for writing. Okay, emergence of literature by modern standards came about in this period. That's interesting because at one side we're talking about this dark period where everything is collapsing. Ironically, literature emerges out of this period. Written by I. Puer in first person. This is a document. I think it's a poem or something, or it's a description. He reads it out to the king, and he's trying to, king realize that things are falling apart, things are not going good, so do something about it. All right. So he's trying to wake the king up about the sad conditions of the state. And in my class notes, it says that it was written by a Middle Kingdom king trying to legitimize his rule. But according to Wikipedia, this was written in the first intermediate period. So I'll just go with the class notes, right? Because Wikipedia is not as reliable as my class notes are because my prof is an archaeologist. Anyways, so this lists the disasters brought about by decline in central authority. So here's an excerpt from the book. It says, corn has perished everywhere. People are stripped of clothing, perfume, and oil. Everyone says there is no more. Strangers have come into Egypt. That is important. So, there's people coming into Egypt. The dead are thrown into the river. Laughter has perished. Grief walks the land. Now, one thing I want to mention here, where Nubians started to control the Egyptian land, was, I think, here. Yeah, I think I did not emphasize this enough, but increasingly difficult to put down the Nubian rebellions in Dynasty 6. So Nubia, which Egypt was having trades with and had a control over, now they were rebelling. Okay, they were being rebellious. So it was becoming difficult to put them down by the end of the 6th dynasty. So I think these strangers is being referred to Nubians. Okay. So, like we said, in the first intermediate period, Egypt is divided into Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt. So upper is Thebes, UT. Lower is Heracleopolis. So we're going to talk about them in a little bit of detail. So the Heracleopolis kings, these kings claimed to be the legitimate successors of Pepi II, which was the 6th dynasty pharaoh of the Old Kingdom. Relied on loyal nomarchs in Lower Egypt. Again, nomarchs are the local governors. Okay, comprised the 9th and the 10th dynasties. No monumental architecture during this period. Too bad, hey? No monumental buildings. No, because there was no access to large labor force, so they could not build any pyramids or anything of that kind. So that's about Heracleopolis. Now what about Thebes? Now Thebes are coming from Upper Egypt, right? Thebes is the location of the Valley of the Kings and the capital of Egypt during Middle Kingdom. What I did was a quick summary of Thebes. So in the Old Kingdom, it's a minor trading post. In the first intermediate period, which is what we're discussing right now, it becomes a source of several rebel movements like the ones in Nubia. In the Middle Kingdom, it becomes the capital, so it's going from being a very small, very less important city to being the capital of the Egyptian Empire. Note, by the end of Old Kingdom, wealth is now spread broadly. Not just the pharaohs have access to the luxuries, but also the provincial bureaucrats and officials.